Hello everyone, welcome to TypeScript Today. Today we're going to look at how we can filter unions. What do I mean by this? Well, let's say we have this union up here and we would like to only extract the string constituents of this union, namely in this case the string literal type yes and the string literal type no. How can we do this? Well, we have two options. We could either use the conditional type extract or we could use intersection types. And let's see how these two options fare. The first option is to use the conditional type extract. This takes two type parameters. The first type parameter will be the union we're trying to filter, and the second type parameter will be the type we're filtering against. So in this case, we could try passing decision and passing string as the second parameter. And we're left with just yes and no from our original union. What happens here is that extract will take each constituent and it will see if it extends string. So it will test, does yes extend string? Yes, then it's going to be preserved in the result union. Does no extend string? It does, so this will be preserved. But 1, 0, true, and false do not extend string, so they will not be preserved in the final union. This also works very well for object types. So for example, if we have a discriminated union, we could just use this type to get, for example, just the circle component of this union, also using extract. So we're testing if each one of the constituents of shape is a subtype of this type that only contains the property type with circle. Now a property with more properties will be a subtype of this type we're testing against. So this means that this type will be preserved because it at the same time has this property of type circle, and it also has some extra properties, but it is still a subtype of this particular type. The rest of the union constituents are not subtype of circle, so they will be removed from the resulting union. So what we have here is just circle. Extract will also work well for unions. So for example, if we're trying to extract not just strings, but strings or numbers, we could say here that we want to extract string or number. Now, these literal types will continue to be subtypes of string or number, but also 0 and 1 will also be subtypes of string or number. So they will all be preserved, so we get 0, yes, no, and 1. This also works for object types. We could try here to extract the circle or the square, for example, and we could say here that we are trying to extract the subtypes of this type and of this type. And this will work. It will extract exactly the type we are looking for. The other version of this is to use a union type directly for the type property, which again, due to the way structural subtyping works in TypeScript, will still extract the type we are looking for. It will extract both the constituent with circle and the constituent with square, because both of these are subtypes of this type. So this is what we can do with extract. It's very flexible and it will work for all cases where you need to extract constituents from a union. The other option is to use intersections. Namely, if we want to extract from decision just the string components, we can say decision and string. And this will preserve the constituents of the union that are just string. So in this case, they will be yes or no. The way this happens is that TypeScript will try to normalize this union. So it will go through a process of trying to move the intersection inside this parenthesis. And what will happen is that we will get basically each union constituent intersected with string. And the reason this works is that intersection of primitive types will resolve to never. So what we will end up getting is yes, no, because this intersection is going to simplify and it's just going to keep yes, because it doesn't, if something is yes, it's going to also be a string, so it's redundant to keep string. But for 1 and string, this just reduces to never. So what in the end we're left with is just yes or no, same as for our conditional type. This somewhat works for object types. The problem with object types is that this works only if you're going to have a property that results in the never type. So we can, for example, filter a discriminated union using this method, because here for this constituent, what we're going to get is the intersection of this type and this type is going to have type of type never, and that is going to reduce to never. However, this type intersected with this type will not reduce to never, it will be preserved, but at the same time, TypeScript is not particularly aggressive about reducing object types. So what we're left is this intersection in which this particular property basically appears twice. This could be reduced, but TypeScript doesn't currently do this, so we're left with this sort of little piece of junk here that is not great. And this gets even worse, for example, if we're trying to filter with a type that has a union here. What we're left with here is we have both constituents, circle and square, but then again we also have this extra type here that is sort of junk. So for object types, I definitely don't recommend using intersection. I recommend using the classic extract conditional type. One place where I do favor using intersection is usually when I'm trying to map just the string keys from another object type. So for example, here we're extending object and we only want the string keys. Well, we can just say key of t and string, and this will filter out any other keys. So for example, if we're going to map this particular type that has string keys and number keys, what we're going to get here is basically a filtering of number keys. And in this case, it works well. I hope everybody enjoyed this. See you next time.